Damir Barnes' first watch as third officer aboard the tanker Joshua Slocum was one he would never forget. At 2300 hours, radar detected a target dead ahead. It was large, not making way, and right on the track dictated by the passage plan. The chart showed nothing in that position. At 2306, Damir confirmed that the radar target was an oil rig. He looked for the master's night orders, but couldn't find them. To avoid the rig, he deviated from the passage plan by altering course to starboard. At 2309, he spotted a second rig. This one was further ahead and inshore of the first. But Damir was confident that the Joshua Slocum would be able to pass between them comfortably. But then the lookout spotted something else. The navigation lights of another vessel. They'd been lost among the second rig's working lights. The two vessels were in a crossing situation. Damir knew he must give way because the other vessel was on his starboard side. He also knew that the customary response was to turn to starboard. But if he did that, he would then have to leave the second rig to port as well. Was there enough depth to do that? A quick decision was needed. Unfortunately, Damir took the wrong one. He turned to port. It was 2310. Fully laden, the Joshua Slocum turned much more slowly than his last ship. At 2313, the ships were only cables apart.
Captain, coming on the bridge, quickly!
The master was only halfway to the bridge when the vessels collided. Human error. Human error costs the industry over $400 million a year. Far more in lost time, lost business, lost jobs, and lost reputations. Worst of all, people are injured and killed, and their families shattered. It's a tragedy, because many human errors need never end this way. We only know three things for certain about human errors. We all make them, we always have, and we always will. It can be painful, but we really do learn from our mistakes. We'll never find a way to prevent us making errors, but we are learning to predict when and where those errors will occur, and how to protect our lives, livelihoods, and the world we live in against the consequences. Human error doesn't have to end in tears. Damir Barnes, the Joshua Slocum's third officer, survived the collision. But he couldn't get another job at sea. and he was ridden with guilt. If only he'd called the master when he spotted the first rig. If only he'd slowed down. If only he'd studied the chart more carefully, because in fact there was plenty of water further inshore. But while Damir held himself responsible for the collision, his error was not the only one. Damir had joined the Joshua Slocum shortly before it sailed. The master was swamped by people and paperwork. Cargo matters were keeping the chief officer busy.
I would like the people to stay clear of this hose until he's heaving up it.
The second officer was immersed in the passage plan. All three would unwittingly contribute to the collision, as would the ship owner's office staff. It was pressure from the office to save time that led the master to take a calculated risk.
But we will arrive too late, so we will have to cut some corners. We have to go a little bit faster.
Only what we can do. It's
Cutting a corner would mean entering an exclusion zone, a future oil field. But there was nothing on the chart to suggest that exploration had started.
Last time I passed, there was nothing there, so we can easily go there, no problem.
yeah, then okay, Captain. Then from here.
The second officer
we will
was
go
uneasy
directly
about
to the
this,
north.
but didn't question the master's decision. The chief officer had been on duty for 36 hours, but still found 5 minutes to meet the new man. He was impressed. But 5 minutes more would have revealed that the young man's book learning wasn't matched by experience.
I've come to investigate the accident which happened.
Nobody enjoys investigations.
Did he wear a safety harness?
I said to him, always must be used, but they don't. This time they don't. Sometimes they do, but this time.
Are all the crew members being made
Often,
aware?
the investigators seem
There are safety
content to
harnesses
identify and
they are
blame the person
required
most
when-
obviously
when they're
responsible.
working.
Test without belt.
The root causes remain hidden. Remedial action will work only if the very same thing happens again. To a team of researchers in England and the Netherlands, that looked like shutting the stable door after the horse has bolted. They believed there must be a way to pinpoint root causes before they could do damage. A way to prevent the next incident occurring, not the last one. It took years, but with help from UK P&I Club member Shell, the team succeeded.
There's a small hole, sir, that causes for the leaking.
They call the immediate causes of incidents active failures, and the root causes latent failures. An active failure, something that happened at the sharp end, is generally blamed for causing an incident. But the researchers found that latent failures are a greater threat. They create the conditions in which active failures are more likely and more serious. Latent failures frequently stem from decisions made higher up. For example, many cases of cargo damage are caused by not replacing worn-out hatch cover seals. Like diseases, latent failures can hide in the system for years, so no one knows how many accidents are just waiting to happen. To detect them before loss or injury can occur, the team simplified the complex workings of organizations into clearly defined categories. The first was procedures. To bring latent failures to light, questions to ask include, are clear standardized procedures available for all routine tasks? Hardware. Is the ship and its equipment up to the job? Design. Is bad design encouraging unsafe acts? Maintenance management. Is maintenance ever delayed or poorly planned? Error enforcing conditions. These are factors that make mistakes more likely. Pressure of time is one. Fatigue is another. So are too little or too much information. Poor working conditions. Low morale. Housekeeping. Housekeeping speaks for itself.
Gas tight fitting. It isn't.
Well, if necessary,
It may seem trivial, but the UK club inspectors find it a reliable indicator of the general quality of a ship. Incompatible goals. Is anyone struggling with incompatible goals, such as conflicts between safety and productivity?
We had at places 2 interlocking coils.
Written procedures and local ways of doing things. The demands of the job and personal distractions. Communication. Do channels of communication exist?
现在是停了，不能这么来回换，来回换是不好的。
Is the necessary information transmitted?
This way?
This way is good, and the light way is no good.
Is it understood?
No good. No.
Organization.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. At first, we sailed Southampton.
Does the way a work group is organized encourage contributions from all its members?
There is no problem. Temperature is in good condition.
Training. Do people have the skills they need? Not just through formal training, but on-the-job coaching as well. Defences. Last, but not least, the measures designed to control and contain hazards. Will they take the sting out of the consequences of failure? Research into human error taught Shell that analysing the answers to questions like these could reveal the weak spots of any ship or rig. Then, precious resources could be directed where the need is greatest, before loss or injury occurs. But does it really work? Shell is convinced. Before adopting this approach, their marine sector suffered a lost time injury almost every day. After, it was nearer 1 a month. Instead of 10 fatalities a year, there's been just 1 in the last 12. There are lessons in this for everyone. Lessons that can save the $1 million we throw away each day because we don't spot human errors until it's too late.
Keep watching out for each other.
Focus on latent failures, not active ones. Focus on situations, not people. Think of errors as consequences, not causes. And always aim to prevent the next error not the last one. Let's review the Joshua Slocum's collision in the light of these lessons. The UK club finds that 90% of collision incidents are a result of human error. Where did things go wrong in this case? There were error-enforcing conditions, incompatible goals, and a failure of organisation. Damir was right. Slowing down and calling a more experienced officer for help might have prevented disaster. That's what the night orders would have told him to do. They were in their usual place, but Damir had missed them. He'd had barely an hour to familiarise himself with the ship. That's about par for the course, according to UK club statistics. Is it really enough? Damir's inexperience and lack of familiarisation are error-enforcing conditions. So are the excessive workload and fatigue, which prevented the chief officer giving the new arrival the attention he warranted. Fatigue causes countless incidents. It's a problem that won't go away unless manning levels are geared to operational needs, not regulations or tonnage. A sea of forms, lists, reports and emails threatens to drown the industry. But no piece of paper is as important as the charts and navigational publications. All too often, the UK club's inspectors find they're uncorrected or out of date. That's a failure of organisation. Had they been routinely updated, the Joshua Slocum's officers would have seen that the oil field was now active. At the core of this case is a latent failure in the category incompatible goals.
Captain, coming on the bridge quickly.
Masters must never allow commercial pressures to push them into taking so-called calculated risks. Ship owners' shore staff must appreciate that good seamanship is always good business. Let's look at another case. A container ship docked, expecting to replace part of its lashing gear, which was badly worn. But the chief officer found that the new equipment hadn't arrived. The agent said it would catch up at the next port of call.
Maar ja, als je niks aan kan doen, nou ja, als het pech gaat.
There weren't many boxes to load, so the chief officer concluded there was just enough serviceable gear to lash them satisfactorily. Predictably, more cargo arrived at the last minute. The lashing gang had to cannibalize some cast-off fittings to get the last few boxes secured.
This one is not good.
The chief officer was dubious.
I have a problem with those broken twist locks. I don't think we can use them on the containers.
But as the stevedore said, the weather was fair and the next port just around the corner.
Okay.